for security seed and chemical. And we're here today at one of our satellite plots in Cadiz, Kentucky. And this is a corn in-furrow trial that we're looking at. So we're basically looking at in-furrow fertility on corn, the differences we're seeing in that, and we've also got some other products, stimulants, biologicals, different things like that, to see if we can get a bump in addition to that. This is on a grower's farm. It already had a base fertility level, so everything that we're looking at here would be what you would call a starter or a product in addition to. We're going to see how maybe some of these products have affected the corn with some of these challenging environments. Okay, so we planted this plot. It was a little heavy. We did have some stand issues in some situations, and it's also we've had some very cool weather after that. So we're going to see how some of these products play a role. So the pass I'm standing in right now is our Pro Germinator product along with micronutrients, and we're basically just looking. This is the program we would have recommended in this situation. We're going to look at it through various different things. So if you look right here, this right here is the last row. There are 4 row sections of the security seed program, okay, with Pro Germinator. Then over here is going to be the untreated. And we're going to dig up some plants here in a minute to kind of, you know, notice some of these differences. But if you look, you're going to see a smaller plant. You're going to see a little bit of purpling. Now the soil test for this farm is not low in phosphorus. It's not high, but it's not low in phosphorus. But a lot of this has to do with cooler temperatures and that plant just not, those roots not growing and taking up as much phosphorus that's in the soil, where this was placed right there in furrow, readily available for it. So as we get up, we're going to walk over and kind of show some other things that we've got. So these 4 rows are going to be the where we have no in-furrow fertility. Okay, these 4 rows. This is a product that a company come to us and wanting us to look at and possibly carry. And you see, it looks better than nothing at all. We'll have to. It's too close to compare. Just looking at the field, so we're going to have to dig it up and then come back and look at it. We'll do that here in just a second and see what differences we can see out of it, like side by side on the whiteboard. And then we got 4 rows. And this is a competitor product. This is a product that's run a lot here in the local area that we're looking at. And security seed, that's one thing we like to do. This grower was running some of this product. He wanted us to test it. He wanted us to put it in this trial. And so it's something that we not only want to see what our products do in certain situations, we want to see what some of these other products do in certain situations to know what's out there, okay? And if there's things that we need to look at or things that we need to be aware of. We go again 4 rows. We've got another competitor product, so it's not just one. And like I said, we don't have just one out here, so we're looking at different things. We're not just singling anybody out. The grower wanted us to look at different trials. We wanted to see what they would do in this environment. This turned out to be a very good starter program with a lot of the conditions that we're in. So hold tight. We'll come back here in just a second after we dug them up and look and see what we can see on the whiteboard. Back here at Cadiz, Kentucky, same plot that we were just looking at. What we've done is we dug up the plants, washed off the roots so we could get them on the whiteboard and actually see, you know, a side-by-side comparison. So if you look at me here, this is the security seed program. It's got 3 gallons of Pro Germ, a quart of Micro 500 in it, which is a zinc, copper, manganese, iron, and boron mix. All right, and if you look over here, this is just untreated. This doesn't have anything in it. So, you know, you could see a substantial difference when we looked at it just a second ago, but you can see an even bigger difference when you get it up here side by side. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the Pro Germ up here, and we're going to take off and we're going to put these other treatments to it. So the Pro Germ mix, the security seed mix, is going to be the standard, and we're just going to compare these other treatments to it. So I'm going to take off the untreated now. Oh, one thing I do want to mention before we move on. You know, we do see a little bit of purpling on here. We talked about that earlier. We see and notice a little bit of purpling, a little bit more on the untreated. Could be sugar buildup, could be a little bit of phosphate, but as we said before, this soil test is not low in phosphate. But having some readily available in furrow phosphate can do one or two things. It can supply a readily available source of phosphate, but it can also, promotes root growth, which is going to help it grow through that cold, slower period of time, which is going to help with the sugar buildup. But now this particular hybrid does show that more than some in some slow growing conditions. But these are both the same hybrid, okay? So everything I'm showing you up here is all the same hybrid. Nothing's different except for the in-furrow fertility. Same planting date, same soil type, okay?
725.6.
This right here is the program, if you remember before, this is the one where this is a product that we can carry that we're looking at this year in comparison. The analysis on it is a 725.6, 2% sulfur, and the Pro Germ's a 924.3, okay? Now this does have zinc added to it as well. So, as you can see, big difference between it and the untreated check, and there's not a whole lot of difference between it and the Pro Germ. I would say that the Pro Germ is probably a little bit better right now. We'll just have to carry it to yield to see what we see, but not a huge difference as of right now. Okay guys, this is not the untreated check. I know it kind of looks like it, probably looks like we hand-picked some of these, but what you seen it a minute ago when we had it side by side. This is actually a competitor in the area's product. It is a polyphosphate. It does have zinc in it, and this was the particular mix that we were asked to look at. And as you can see, there's a pretty substantial difference between it and the Pro Germinator. So here's the thing: a lot of times we get a lot of guys and they say, "Hey, you know, this product's cheaper. Hey, it's cheaper per gallon or it's cheaper per acre." Well, not all products are created equally, and that's sometimes what we find out. Technology, you know, sometimes we have to pay for the technology to keep that phosphate available, to keep it from getting tied up, to let it enter the plant. And so that's kind of what we're seeing right here. So that's comparing apples to apples, and we're looking, that's what you see the difference. Just to show you, I'm gonna put the untreated right here next to it if I can find it again. But above ground you see virtually no difference. If any, the untreated is probably maybe even a little bit better above ground visual, but not hardly any difference at all. So we'll take these two off. This is another competitor. So this one is it does have some polyphosphate, but it's a little bit higher percentage of ortho. So when you're looking at the difference between ortho and poly is going to be a lot of orthos tied on. It's a long chain of orthos, and so they're not able to be tied up in the soil. They're also not readily available for that plant. But what happens is you get a blend of ortho and poly, like Pro Germinator's 30% ortho, 70% poly. You get some that's readily available, and you get some that's protected, and it breaks off as those long chains break down, okay? This one has more ortho. It's 80% ortho, 20% poly, and so what we're looking at with it's got a lot readily available right off the bat, but it's also can be tied up, okay? It's vulnerable to be tied up with other cations in the soil, okay? Iron, aluminum, whatever we've got in the soil here. And so what I think that you're probably seeing here is we planted this corn and then we turned off cold, right? And so that phosphate is still getting tied up. The plant's not growing, it's not utilizing it, and so then when it does start growing again, or when it does need that phosphate, a lot of it's tied up. So that's the reason we look at more of a poly blend than a higher percentage of ortho, and that's kind of the difference in it. So this is all for what we have here at this plot in Cadiz right now. We're going to continue to monitor this, and we're also probably going to look at our regional research station, which is just about probably 30 minutes down the road here, and see how we've got these same treatments there, kind of see how they react in that environment just down the road in a little bit different soil type. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.